Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the June 16th Downtown Design Review Committee meeting. If everyone could take care of their noisemakers, that would be great. And first order of business is roll call.
Betsy Brunstetter.
Present.
Gigi Faulkner.
Present.
Charles Ainsworth.
Present.
Corey Bates.
Present.
Nathaniel Harding.
Present.
Connie Scothorn. Danielle Theriot.
Present.
You have a quorum.
This is awesome. I think we've got everybody here, right? Okay, and I am assuming everyone has had a chance to review the minutes. Do we have a motion and second on the minutes? Okay.
Second.
No, wait. Okay, we need a real motion, sorry.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, sorry. The motion was made by Corey Bates and seconded by Mr. Ainsworth. I'll be better, I promise. Okay, there are no cases to be withdrawn. There are no continuance requests.
There is one last-minute continuance request.
Okay.
It's under other business, item 7A, DTCA-16-00080, to provide a recommendation of a variance for sign regulations. The last minute, the applicant realized he couldn't be here, so he's requesting continuance to the July meeting.
Okay. Do we have a motion on this continuance?
It's what date is it?
Do we have a motion on that continuance?
Move to continue this to the July 21st meeting.
Mr. Bates?
Second.
Ms. Faulkner? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we don't have anything on the consent docket, and I would like to reorder some of the items. I'd like to bring up 7B. We have a very distinguished member of our community in the gallery, and we want to honor him today. He's been with us. This is kind of I'm going to get teary-eyed, I think. Mr. Tannenbaum, would you come forward?
Do I have to sign in, Madam Chairman?
Yes, please.
I'm not going to.
Oh, you're being very, very.
It's the humidity.
What? So I'm going to read something to you. Actually, I might do a special thing because you've been so great for us, and pass this down the line and have everybody read a paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we
Well,
really
just the
have.
ones that I started with. I don't know these new liberals.
We're going to let everybody read it. And you have been, we really appreciate all that you've been to us, and the big motion maker representing development in Oklahoma City. So a resolution of the Downtown Design Review Committee of the City of Oklahoma City acknowledging Richard Tannenbaum for his valuable service and dedication to the Downtown Design Review Committee. Whereas Richard Tannenbaum has faithfully devoted his time and expertise to serve the citizens of Oklahoma City as a Downtown Design Review Committee member from May 2007 to April 2017. That's a long time.
16.
Oh, it says 17 on there. To April, okay. You're still on the committee. No wonder you made that motion.
Different name.
Whereas the committee has benefited greatly from the depth and breadth of Richard Tannenbaum's knowledge and experience in the development and real estate industries, and
whereas Richard Tannenbaum has demonstrated uncommon dedication to the committee through methodical attention to detail and earnest regard for the applicable standards, guidelines, and the consideration of projects presented
And whereas Richard Tannenbaum's participation in committee deliberations has always been characterized by a steadfast and constant perseverance to promote the successful long-term revitalization and enhancement of the downtown design review district, subjects to committee review, and
Whereas Richard Tenenbaum has consistently treated applicants, citizens, fellow committee members, and staff with respect and courtesy.
Nathaniel?
Whereas the fulfillment of Richard Tannenbaum's responsibilities on the committee was achieved through earnest devotion to the well-being of the community and the overall betterment of downtown.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Downtown Design Review Committee hereby respectfully commends Dick Tannenbaum for his outstanding years of service to the Downtown Design Review Committee of the City of Oklahoma City.
Adopted by the Downtown Design Review Committee of the City of Oklahoma City this 16th day of June 2016. We'll have to get this to you later because we have to correct the...
No problem.
And we have to adopt the resolution.
Oh, and do we have a motion to...
Adopt the resolution.
I move to...
Second.
I move to adopt the motion,
That was...
resolution.
I second.
And that was Chuck. All in favor?
I
Any opposed?
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a real privilege and a terrific experience. And just keep in mind the development community as you make your judgments, because it's challenging times. But you all are a very able, capable, and delightful group to work with, and we will continue our relationship. Some of y'all.
Absolutely.
All right, be well. Can I leave now, Madam Chairman?
You may
Thank you so much.
depart.
Really appreciate it. It's been a
Thank-
fabulous experience.
Thank you so much.
Outside of Cabo, it's second only to my other home. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
And I am going to take this opportunity to reorder the cases for individual consideration by just moving the item B up to the top of the docket. So if the applicant is present for 1000 North Lee Avenue, if you could come forward, state your name, and Laura will tell us some of her stuff, and then you can talk to us.
Good morning. My name is Paul Rising, and I'm with TME LLC, representing St. Anthony's Hospital.
Good morning. We have a request before you for the permanent installation of an emergency generator for St. Anthony's. In your packet, we provide you information about the current conditions, where they want to put it. They're going to have to eliminate a couple of off-street parking spaces for the location, and then in conjunction with this project, they want to put a gate across the opening where you currently can look down and see some wonderful pieces of equipment, and it's going to enhance that area because it's going to screen all of that from view. The original, well, first, they have a temporary generator that you might have seen that's kind of sitting out there in the road. The original generator was located in
Take
the...
no responsibility for that location.
The original generator was located in the adjacent building, and when they had to replace it, the new ones are so much bigger it couldn't fit. And so they ended up with the temporary one while they tried to figure out where they were going to put the permanent one. And let me get down to... They are going to, as I said, eliminate 2 angled parking spaces, and they're working with traffic management on that. So the area that I'm currently circling is where they're going to be putting the permanent generator. They're going to be relocating the sidewalk so that it goes around that area, so there will be continued pedestrian access. And then that gate I was mentioning will go across this access driveway back into that building. As it indicates in your packet, let me flip my page as I go. They're going to be using metal panels because they need to be able to remove the screening around the generators when they have to work on it. And so instead of building a masonry structure around it, which would not afford them that opportunity. They were wanting to put metal panels. This is an example of what they're proposing from another location, and that will allow them to actually remove the panels, get in and do the work, or replace the generator, heaven forbid, if they have to do that, because it's so large. And I wanted to get to the, where did the drawing go? So in this, and I can make that bigger so everybody in the audience can see that. So you can see what I was referring to as the relocation of the sidewalk and the location of the gate, and then you have the emergency generator. As discussed in the staff report, there is requirements in your regulations for screening, and the screening is to, it can't exceed, there's a height restriction that deals with fencing, and then there's material. And so this is considered a side or a rear yard, and the maximum height is 8 feet, and they're going to exceed that, and they have already applied for a variance. So part of what you're doing today will be making a recommendation for the Board of Adjustment, because they're going to exceed the maximum height. In addition, they are supposed to match color and material with the primary structure. They're adjacent to the parking structure, which is a masonry, but as I explained, they're needing to do this in metal panels so they can remove them to do work in the future or actually replace it. So they're proposing a material that will, they feel will work with the area. And so, as I stated, the maximum height is 8, and they need to go to 14 feet because they also have to screen the generator, and it's very tall.
And isn't there something in our ordinance that says that they have to screen the mechanical?
Yes, that's the section that in here, it's the screen it's the service area utility screening, and that's the requirement, and it states they have to screen it to the height of the material, of the equipment, and so that's why they have to go so high.
We have kind of a conflict.
There is.
Okay.
And we're going to see it again, hopefully next month, within the next month or two, because they have another situation happening on St. Anthony's campus. The same scenario, they have to screen what's behind it. It's got to be really tall. So, yes, and so that's forcing them to have to go taller than we allow and go get a variance. So, staff recommendation is to approve the application with a condition, as I state in here, that they receive a variance from the screening, color, and material requirements. That's one of the variances they need, and the maximum allowable fence height and the fence material regulations, because we also have certain material that is allowed for fences, and so we've caught them in the middle of a kind of a conundrum, I guess is the right word. So, and then the second thing for you to do would be to provide a recommendation of approval to the Board of Adjustment for all the variances that I listed that they need.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that? She was pretty thorough on it.
She was very thorough. I really have nothing to add. Just the screen provides no function as far as the equipment goes. It's fully contained in a weatherproof, soundproof enclosure designed to be secured from the exterior. Nothing will be, even if you gain access into the screened yard, there's nothing inside the equipment. You have to defeat the locks of the equipment. So it's strictly a screen to shield the equipment and provide a nicer appearance than the big green box that is an emergency generator.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Just a couple.
Okay.
The metal screen on the elevations, the metal panel shown as just one large panel. Is that the case, or will there be?
It'll be supported probably every 12 to 14 feet, depending on how the structural engineer designs it based on the size of the posts they use for the support of the screening, and of course based on wind load and other factors. But it'll be segmented so that it can be taken apart in pieces. We'll probably have to use a crane to take it apart when it comes time. We hopefully never have to take it apart, but for instance, if something does happen, the generator has a catastrophic failure, we have to replace the entire piece of equipment, we have to be able to take that screen down in a 12 to 24-hour period to move the equipment and get a new piece of equipment in.
And then the portion of the screen that faces south, so that will have joint lines in the metal panel?
That's
It's not,
correct.
it's not monolithic.
Right.
It's not monolithic,
Okay.
no.
Okay. And then regarding the color, we've got this as an example of that metal panel system. Is this?
Yeah, that is not the color. Can you pull up the picture of the south side of that building?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, this one. No, this way, sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as you can see, there's
Kind of a
there's
off-white.
a number of different materials and colors that are involved in this. Primarily, it's red brick with either white or glass wall accents on the actual boiler plant. And then on the parking garage, it's pretty much white with black fencing. Our thought was to make it white, since the majority of it sits in front of the parking deck, is to make it white to blend in with the parking deck.
Okay, good question, because I was under the impression it was going to be the kind of steel,
Sorry
rusted
about
steel.
No, that was just the old, that was the snapshot you have of the examples from the McBride Clinic up on the Northwest Extension, or on the Broadway Extension, and it's the only place I've seen that has the kind of material that we would like to use for its quick access. I actually have experience with that because we had to add a generator to that yard, and that material came down and went up in a day. Now, this material will be bigger because the generator's taller, but still it affords an easy accessibility but a durable structure, to withstand, hopefully, no vandalism, but
And then regarding the sliding gate or the rolling gate, is that the same, is that clad in the same material as the rest?
it'll be of course, it'll be a gate structure, but it'll be a similar material and similar structure.
So it'll all match?
It'll all match. Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why the gate is 8 feet relative to the screen being 14?
I guess probably just for the ability to move the gate back and forth. Where the gate sits, it doesn't actually sit in front of the equipment, so it's not part of the screen itself. The gate will be used frequently because it's used to provide deliveries to the back of the boiler house. That's the boiler house on the east side. And so all the salt for the water treatment and any other equipment that needs to be provided that's consumables to the boiler house gets provided through that gate.
It seems to me if you're driving west on 9th Street, you will catch sight lines over that sliding gate of the generator.
Okay.
Is it possible to have that gate the same height as the rest of the screen?
I would say that it probably is. It just would make the functioning portion of the gate be heavier duty, make the gate more difficult to manipulate.
Is it steel or aluminum?
It's going to be an aluminum it's going to like an aluminum product.
So it won't be, if it were steel, a 14-foot.
Well, it'll have
still get
steel,
wooden.
it'll have steel components in it to
Right.
provide the framework for it.
I just don't want to, go through the effort of putting in a screen to hide a generator and then still have sight lines of it at certain points of it.
This is not the nicest looking portion of St. Anthony Hospital.
Right? No?
It's, you see a lot anyway, but.
Yeah, no matter what we do with the structure, we're still going to see that tank back there, which is a water tank that provides backup water, I guess, to the boilers if they lose city water for a period of time. But, that thing is very, very unattractive. So, if we can make the gate 14 feet, it just makes it more difficult to use on a daily basis. We were trying to make it so it was manageable weight and size to manipulate.
I personally like it a little bit shorter, just to add it's going to be, that 14-foot wall is going to be pretty obtrusive, especially now that I know it's white.
Yes.
It'll be, I kind of like the juxtaposition to get a little bit of change in the elevation there, personally.
In talking, Miller Architects is actually helping me with the design portion of the structure, and their thought about the white color was because it ties into basically the white corner on the boiler house, and then when it ties back into the parking structure, that's pretty much all white as well.
And it was a little overcast that day when I was out, so it kind of looks yellow in the pictures,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
much
portions
brighter
kind
than
of
that.
do kind of look yellow. It's
Yeah, it's much
fairly
brighter
old
than that.
structure.
Any other comments from the committee? Any comments from the gallery? Do we have any motions?
I move to approve the application on the basis that it complies with regulations and guidelines of downtown design district
That was
zoning
Gigi.
referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with the condition that you receive a variance from the screening color and material requirements, the maximum allowable fence height, and the fence material regulations.
Second.
Okay, that was a Faulkner and Scothorn motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You are approved.
Thank you very much.
Wait, we got
And I'll also move to provide a recommendation of approval to the Board of Adjustment for the variance from the screening color and the material requirements, maximum allowable fence height, and the fence material regulations.
I'll second.
Okay, that was a Faulkner Scothorn motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now we're
There you
done.
go.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would like to personally thank Laura. This is my first time of going through this experience, and she was very, very helpful and very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is 1122 North Broadway. You know the applicant is present. Do you want to come forward? And Lisa, do you want to address this?
Sure. This is the third time that this project has been before the committee. I think every time the committee's comments have been addressed in some way. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong staff report. The major items that have been changed since the May meeting have been, I think at the May meeting, the applicant stated that they had changed the brick color from the onyx to the iron spot. And these are the samples that they brought to that meeting, so I'll pass those around. So that's recorded in the new renderings. They also clarified that the storefront is proposed to be a military blue color, and this sample was also presented at the last meeting, but I brought it back in case anybody needs another look at it. The biggest change that has happened is that the leasable floor area on the third floor has been increased. So instead of the parking garage capacity going all the way to the top, the leasable area of the third floor has moved east. And so that's resulted in more upper balconies on the north and less parking garage screening. Other than that, there's been some other minor changes to the balcony configuration on the west side, but I believe it's essentially, those are the main changes.
Yes, Lisa, well done. And
If I may, Madam Chairman, I need to recuse myself on this.
Okay. And just a second, Lisa, could you pass around previous elevations? Do you have any of those, or Laura, do you have any of those?
We did not bring them.
Okay. That might be kind of a
We
good
can
reference.
get to them. Can we get to them? Okay, sorry. Or did you?
I didn't.
But yeah, we didn't bring them because this, what is before you is what is being asked
Right.
for.
I just
approval.
wanted to, I think that you've made some positive changes, and I just wanted to confirm that. But
Can you get them? Yes.
yeah, that'd be good. Oh, I don't need a hard copy or anything. Okay.
If I may, Haven Mankin, architect. One of the requests in the last meeting was to eliminate the second floor balconies. The staff report asked for eliminate balcony on the second floor north side. We did that, but we also, in effort to appease the committee and show that we're trying in good faith to make adjustments, we eliminated the balcony on the second floor on the west side. And so there was other comments that were made to suggested cutting the balcony on the fourth floor back from the corner, one bay each way, one bay on the north, one bay on the west. We also, with respect of the committee and the city planner's office, we produced a model that showed that. And we met with city planning and showed them the model with the balconies pulled back. And it was, in my opinion, and I know I'm biased, but we also had other comments from others, that it really made the building look atrocious. One comment was made that the corner was naked now. And so we are not suggesting to pull the balcony back on the fourth floor. Furthermore, we need the balcony because it's the only way for the kitchen and the restaurant to function on the fourth floor. As Lisa said, we did increase the leasable space in the building. This process has been going on for a while. We've had issues with the site. The site does not have square corners. It's not as deep north to south as early documents showed. OG&E cut into our area. The way we handle trash cut into our area, and the leasable space has been steadily going down through all this process. And we got to a point where it became economically unfeasible to continue the project. So changes had to be made. That's why we eliminated 10 parking spaces on the third level, and we're now down to, from 34 down to 24 parking spaces inside the building, still screening all of that parking. And we've increased the leasable space some 7,000 square feet to a number that works economically for the project. We've made the changes, as Lisa said, on the drawings to reflect the brick and the colors of all the materials. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
I have one question. On that fourth floor balcony that's running the full length of a footprint, usable footprint, you mentioned that it's necessary for the kitchen to function at the corner, but is it necessary the full length on each elevation?
Yes, ma'am. Part of that area we have is circulation for egress, and part of that area is for outdoor dining that's desired for the restaurant. So in order to, we've pulled the glass storefront back inside the building, but it's a give and take situation to meet the encroachment building code requirements. And so we meet all the code requirements for encroachments, and we pulled our storefronts back inside the building as much as we could to allow for egress and outdoor dining. So we really need to have that, to have the continuity from the west side to north side.
Any other comments from the committee? Any other questions? Is there anyone that would like to speak to this from the gallery? You want to come forward?
Good morning. My name is Rand Elliott. I'm representing the Automobile Alley Design District. Thanks for what you're doing today and for your time. The Automobile Alley Design Committee has been consistent in our desire to preserve the integrity of the historic district called Automobile Alley. The design guidelines are clear. They're written in a guideline book that is available to everyone, and it clearly states what is appropriate to build in the area. We appreciate the effort of Haven and his client in meeting and complying to the Automobile Alley guidelines. The Automobile Alley Design Committee has discussed the current proposal in detail. We are willing to accept the proposed design with one final change. We would propose and like to have the open metal railings at the balconies deleted and them become masonry railings constructed on all the balconies. We feel like that from the standpoint of detail and consistency in the neighborhood, that it is more in keeping with the massing of the adjacent Automobile Alley buildings. Those are my comments.
I assume that we haven't found any of those things. That's okay.
Well, no, we can show last times, but I would, again, just say that the item before you is what's in your packet.
Right.
So would you like to see that right now, or does somebody have specific questions about the design from last time?
I'm just curious about what changes. I mean, we spent a long time on this, and I don't want to just rush through this.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to be, we're trying to organize how to flip back and forth, and I'm trying to get a handle on what the...
One thing that I appreciate that is in contrast to what Mr. Elliott just said is that one of the things that I think was changed from the last time, and this is kind of why I wanted to see this, is that there was a lot of brick massing in order to create the handrail height, and it looks like you've eliminated one of those and created just an opening with the railing next to the sign. Is that
On the third floor.
on the third floor? Yeah.
One bay each way from the third floor. And the reason for that is for visibility of signage for tenants that are in the building.
It seems like that is because most of the Automobile Alley window heights are lower than the required handrail height these days, that we've created an undue mass of brick in the previous rendition, and that to me that seems to be a better, to reduce the brick so that the window opening, so to speak, is more in keeping with the Automobile Alley window openings. What do you think about that?
I think that our statement about what we would propose is pretty clear.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the gallery or the committee? No, I think that's all I needed, unless somebody else needs to see more. Danielle, you haven't been here through all this.
Just to be clear, what's on the screen now is from the May meeting.
Is the last meeting. Right. That is not what we're looking to, it's just to compare.
I mean, I don't want to waste, I wouldn't mind flipping through just the other image really quick that was presented last week to check the differences, and I wasn't here, so I won't comment too much, but.
But if everybody starts with this rendering in front of them, we'll start with that rendering from last time.
Got it.
So does everybody so what's in front of you is the one from May. It shows, on the north facade, it shows the larger area of parking garage screening because the parking garage was larger last time. It shows on the west elevation, everything is pretty much the same except for the center bay on the second floor. The current rendering shows a partial height solid masonry wall with the window wall behind it, so there's more of a deep shadow line, kind of alcove shown. That's the second floor. Third floor is very similar, except on the corner it has a taller, opaque brick wall with, again, the storefront behind it, so it creates more of a shadow. And then the third floor, the current proposal is to have a deeper recess of the storefront windows, so there's more of a shadow line instead of them being at the face on the corner bays. Is that, Haven, is that a good?
Yes.
Does that capture it? Yeah, the fourth floor is proposed to be further to the north, wider to the north of the overhang.
When we eliminated the balconies on the second floor, I believe that we went to brick instead of the railing on the second floor level, but we did increase the railing. It's kind of a wash. We eliminated brick on the third floor and put in railing, but eliminated railing on the second floor and put in brick.
Any other comments? Do we have any motions?
I'd just like to make a comment before any motions are made that I very much appreciate the efforts in going through this process. I know it hasn't been the easiest of processes, and I think each one of the moves that have been made thus far have improved what's being presented. So I don't want that to be uncommunicated. I do still stand by my previous opinion and comments that the inclusion of the balconies do not align with the existing design character of Automobile Alley. It's a little, I'm a little confused with the desire to pull the building off of the property line. It looks like there's leasable square footage on levels 1 and 2 that are being sacrificed just to have the balconies be proud of the building. But that's my overall comment, my overall thought.
If I may say, that corner is on the property line. The northwest corner is on the property line. The southwest corner is back 5 feet from the property line. The property does not have square corners. And so that's as close as we can get the first floor to the property line without building an angled building.
I've been asked again, okay.
I would just like to encourage the Downtown Design Review Committee to give serious consideration to the fact that the Automobile Alley Design Committee is here being represented. This is, since 1995, a very important part of downtown, and that our wishes be given very serious consideration. We're really trying to make sure that this area is protected and that it is consistent with the historic nature of massing and materials and so forth for this particular project. This is an impactful project. It's a building coming into the neighborhood. It needs to be consistent with the neighborhood that has been built over the last 20-plus years.
And this is the north edge of Automobile Alley, is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Any other comments from the gallery?
I have one question, and maybe I should know this, but has there been any new construction in Automobile Alley within the last 10 years or so, or 20?
There's construction going on all the time because there are new tenants coming and going in the neighborhood.
I mean, new buildings.
New buildings.
When was the
Community Foundation building was probably the last brand
It's on the corner
new.
of 10th and Broadway.
And how long ago was that? Do you remember?
6 or 7 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
this would be, I think,
Was that
the
an
first
issue?
building of
Did we have
private.
problems then, too?
Oh, we had a lot of discussion.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not, it was not a up and down thing. It was, we went through several discussions on that.
Connie, I would tell you one thing that went on with that particular project. As you can see, it's set back from the corner, which was a lot of conversation. And ultimately, we were able to come up with an arrangement where the corner was identified. And if you were to go up to that location, you would see a corner brick wall, if you will, identifying the edge of the automobile alley district at property line. And that was how we got to that point.
We also had discussions about the windows because they didn't really want to, but that, I think that the collaboration and the cooperation was immense, and we came to a good decision. So just so you know, you're not the only one that's gone through this, because it is a very special district.
We never thought people were picking on us, and I hope that the committee knows, and the Automobile Alley people know, that we've worked very hard to try to make this a viable project. We meet all the codes and standards, the downtown framework and everything, and we've tried to, not only does it have to be economically viable, so it's a long-lasting building with tenants and not, an empty box, but, the building has to function. And we want it to look good, and we think it addresses all the items like that. So we have tried to be sensitive to the context, for sure.
I think that's definitely acknowledged. And thank you. The suggestion's been made that the balconies be brick. Have you given any consideration to that at all? And then I'd like to ask some of my fellow committee members what their opinions of that are.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We have thought about that, and we had some areas, for instance, on the third floor that was brick and now railing. The issue is, and we've mentioned this to the committee before, that the interaction of the building to the street is important. And it's been acknowledged in other studies by independent, the Brookings Institute and so on, that what we're trying to do here is missing from Automobile Alley. And so we are trying to address those things. We think that Automobile Alley is a sensitive area, but not every building, and this is a brand-new building with private money. And, we're not trying to build a brick warehouse here. We're trying to build a building that brings services to all the housing that has now gone into the city, Deep Deuce and the Plaza District and Midtown and all around. And those services need to have exposure. And the exposure needs to be to signage that this committee will address at the appropriate times for that signage, and the services need to have exposure. We feel like the best way to have exposure is to open up the building more. So we do, as you know, put a lot of brick in the building. We created the whole top edge of the building as a straight brick with cast stone, and that's all a very purposeful nod to Automobile Alley and the rest of the buildings down the street. So we want those straight lines to occur. The window openings are smaller than, say, Hudson Essex building, which has great big windows that are out at the base of the wall. So, we think that the way we set a lot of the glass back inside a little bit to create, a sense of more brick and yet get the openness, we think we have a good blending of what we need to do here. So we think that the compromise is good. We're addressing, the massing of the Automobile Alley while opening up the building also for the tenants that will be there.
Okay. Any other comments from the gallery? Any other comments?
I just had, oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Would you like? Just jump right in there. Can you tell us your name and write it on the clipboard. That'd be great.
My name is Jack Warner, and jogging downtown and going downtown frequently, and Suzanne and I eat out a great deal in many places other than here as well as here. And I would simply say that to me, opening that up makes it much more inviting, much more desirable, and much more communicative with the street. I like that, and I think it's needed downtown. I don't sense a friendliness down there that I do with something like this, so I hope you will consider that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming forward. Danielle?
I don't want to beat a dead horse, as they say, but Corey mentioned something on the site plan, and I just want a clarification. So the building's pushed to the property line. Does that mean that all of your balconies and canopies are overhanging your property line, if that's the case?
To some degree, but we follow the building code encroachment policy. For instance, you can only overhang 4 feet if you're 15 feet above the sidewalk. If you're higher, you can extend out. I believe it's 1 inch more for every foot you go up. So the maximum overhang allowed by building codes is 6 feet. None of our balconies exceed that. So on the lower level, we had 4-foot balconies. Now, the problem that the committee shared with us in the last meeting was that there was some concern of the way the balconies look because they sit down on top of the canopy that runs around the sidewalk. So, we listened and we've taken those out. Now, we have to have some on the west side at the south end because that's our circulation from our stair and elevator right there where the cursor is. But all the rest of the balconies that were on that second floor have been removed and brick in its place.
So the balcony right above those, what are the depths, on the third floor, for example?
That's 6 feet out because of its height, the height above the sidewalk. It meets the codes and ordinances. Now, because that portion of the building, as I was trying to say earlier, the property line angles. So looking at the view that's on the screen right now, that corner, which would be the northwest corner on your left, right there, is right on the property line. And as you go south along that west facade, it goes inward from the property line to 5 feet. Now, we had to add this wall that you see on the south, and that's a requirement by code for fire separation. We didn't want the wall, but we had to do that to meet code. And so the facade that you see there is actually 5 feet back from the property line, which, I guess helps in some way of some of the balconies on that portion of the building being back farther from the street than they would otherwise.
I just want to clarify this because I'm looking at your site plan here and I see the 5-foot dimension on the south side, and at the northwest corner there's a 3-foot 8 dimension from the property line to the facade of the building. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page that at the northwest corner, the way I read this, the front facade of the building is not at the property line.
It is we have it right on the property line.
Oh, because this site plan has a 3-foot 8 dimension indicating that it's stepped back from the property line.
Well, that may be an earlier site plan, to be honest with you, but we've tried to maximize the leasing space in the building, so we pushed the corner of that building as far out as we can.
So then if that's the case relative to this drawing, then the dimension at the south end would be 1 foot 4 inches.
No, it's 5 feet. I think we have an error there, sir.
The geometry, either then the geometry of the property line is incorrect. Something's not right with this.
Okay.
I do, this is, every time you say this, it just boggles my mind. The second floor balcony, I'm looking at the second floor plan. It looks like you have access to your fire stair from the lease space, and you said that you've got to have the second floor balcony on the west side, south end.
Yes, ma'am.
In order to, and I just don't see that.
Well, because from the vestibule between the stair and the elevator, if you went to the right on your screen there, you might go into a store. We're not planning to have interior corridors that lead you to the rest of the lease space. The whole point of the building on these outside walkways is to interact with the street and provide circulation to the tenants without walking through another tenant's space. So if you want to go to a tenant that's, say, on the northwest corner of the building, from the vestibule, you go left, and we'll have to walk around the corner of the elevator and then down the walkway to those doors that you see. And that lease space, number 204, maybe there's 2 or 3 tenants in there. And so you would walk around the storefront to the tenant who maybe has an entry door on the north side of the building.
So these are very small lease spaces.
Yes, ma'am. Or it could be. That could be one lease space there. We just don't know.
And their access from, like, to the public toilets would be through the front of their stores?
Like, you know, you might have a little corridor, like a service corridor behind the tenants that pick up the door to the parking and the restrooms there. We have one tenant that wants to take a whole floor, okay? So we don't know how the building will be leased at this point. And we're just trying to make it flexible that we can have multiple tenants or one large tenant if that's the case. But we just need to make sure that we're accommodating the possibilities to increase leasability.
Well, with that comment, I'm going to go back to this fourth floor balcony, because to me at this point I feel that it's really the most inconsistent design element that's inconsistent with Auto Alley having that wraparound balcony full length. So with that comment about not knowing what's going to be there, your comment about the kitchen that maybe they're being able to function and needing that full-length balcony, it's not known that it's actually going to be that.
If you look at this drawing, you see the little box on the bottom of the edge there on the south side of the building. Mm-hmm. That's a chase that runs all the way up through the building. We're anticipating a restaurant on the first floor. We want to have a restaurant on the first floor for sidewalk seating and that sort of thing. That chase is being planned in anticipation of a restaurant on the first floor. This fourth floor is the same way. We are anticipating restaurant on the fourth floor. The other services would be taking, the bulk of the space on 2 and 3. So we have more lease space that we added on the third floor, just like this fourth floor slide, on the east half of the building. And so we expect those to be more office space. We expect that maybe some art agencies would want to be nearby because of the art center to the north. We would expect other professional offices to be there that want to be close to the downtown area. So we're expecting office spaces on the east half of the building on the third floor and fourth floor. So the restaurant has to take the west half of the fourth floor. And you can see the way we're trying to handle the spaces in the deck, for the outdoor seating. We could show you drawings that we've met with plan review on egress, to size the stairs properly. We know about the occupant loads. It's all been designed, for a restaurant occupancy as well as the kitchen. And it's on the fourth floor to handle a lot of the exhaust and makeup air for the kitchen. So we've gone a long way to making it a restaurant on the 4th floor.
Okay, I understand. Then I guess with that, my last comment would just be that, to me, the continuous balcony and the lack of any articulation in it is something that I would encourage that to be looked at. If it needs to be there, does it have to be 6 feet consistently and no interruptions? Even if it's just a slight relief, and should these, let's say, turn to brick, is there some way to break it up to be, a pattern that might be, or just a look that's more consistent with Auto Alley? So yeah, I think that's the last thing I have.
Any other comments?
I'm going to go back to the suggestion that the balconies be brick rather than the railing. And I really would like the committee to weigh in on this also. If that were to happen, or if you were to consider that to be more in line with the look and the massing of Automobile Alley, I just want to bring up the comment that I think that would very much change the look of the front of the building and change the existing window scape. It would cover up most all of the existing windows and change them, change their shape and look across both sides of the building. It would have a very horizontal, window scape if that happened. And what do you all think about that?
I agree with that comment. I relate to the comments of the guest earlier who stood up and spoke, that I actually appreciate the railing as it is now, just because to me it does feel like it'd be a better visual interaction. And one of the guidelines that is referenced in our staff report stresses the interaction with pedestrian in the building, and so for that reason I actually like it the way it is presented now. And your comment, Gigi, as far as if it were brick, it might actually change kind of the shape or the perceived shape of the windows. I think that's another reason to consider that this might be preferable as it is, if I understand your comment correctly. Okay.
I would just counter. I understand, and I can understand the desire for a visual connection, but I guess we're at a consideration between different guidelines, because this guideline here, mentions that buildings within certain districts should promote architectural diversity while encouraging design that relates to and reinforces the overall character of the immediate surroundings. And that is really, to me, the point, of at least my comment about that balcony. It's not existent in Auto Alley, especially one to this degree of continuous length, uninterrupted length. So I can understand that perspective for the visual and how that could relate to the downtown guidelines. And I guess it's up to us to decide which, takes precedence and which is more important. I'm not sure if we could do both. If we can achieve both, I think that'd be great. Maybe it's a combination where there's moments that you can see through the balcony, but parts of it are masonry.
And there is that comment about architectural diversity, and so there's a balance between uniformity but still having some points of interest and diversity. And since this is the only balcony in the area, there really is no precedent for saying, in my mind, there's no precedent for saying that balconies should do this or that or the other, because there aren't any balconies, and so we can kind of decide what they are supposed to do. And for me, if there's going to be a balcony, having that interaction and having that kind of the windows appear, more vertical and less horizontal outweighs the idea that you have the brick covering of the rails, or brick instead of rails, I should say.
Madam Chair, may I make a couple of comments? Sure. Obviously, we're all trying to find a solution that seems to make sense. And two thoughts come to my mind. One would be there's some sort of combination of masonry and hand railing that would allow the consistency to be there, but also indicating that there's something new happening. The second thought in terms of transparency would be that if it is a masonry, if it could be a masonry handrail, that it might be basically a transparent masonry
With
rail, like
openings
basically, with openings in it, like a garden wall or something like that, and that would allow the suggestion that it's consistent with the automobile alley massing, but yet there is some transparency there. It also might answer one of the questions that was here about articulation, and some sort of a garden wall or open brick pattern might be a good solution.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I guess I've always been in favor of the balconies. And I'm still in favor of the balconies. And I also understand that the interaction between the street is going to be a lot more so with railings rather than with a brick wall. I am curious about, I think a combination, I really would hate to send this back to you again, but I think some combination of brick and railing probably is the answer. I really don't want to send this back to you, but obviously I'm not an architect. I have learned a lot about architecture since I've been on this committee, and I see that you are very particular about certain parts of your building. And I think because of that, I think maybe one more version would be helpful. I really don't want to say that. So that's my opinion.
Well, you all are talking about the intermediate levels and having a combination. This may not be apropos, but at the beginning we showed a combination of brick and railing at the top, and that was shot down pretty fast. And so we've created that strong line at the top. As I've mentioned before, we're bending over backwards to try to meet you guys. And if you look up and down Automobile Alley, the Buick building has way different kind of windows than what we're talking about now. Hudson Essex has great big fenestration, lots of windows. The geometry is way different than what we're talking about now. All those buildings have windows out at the front face of the facade. We're trying to set the windows back in a lot of the areas, which do create, more of a punched opening sort of look. I don't want to come back again. I'll just be honest with you guys. We have a building that works. We've met all the codes and ordinances. We've made lots of adjustments, as you know. And we're talking about subjective comments here. And we would like for you all to, vote on this project and agree and give us approval for the design that we've come back to you with on the third time.
Well, a certain amount of what we do is subjective, and that's the whole idea about design review. If it were black and white.
Oh, I understand that.
So, with that, Lisa, do you have something? No? Okay. I think we should be ready to vote. Do we have a motion, one way or the other?
I go to the page. I will make the motion to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, that was Nathaniel and Connie. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Yeah.
Nope.
Yes, show of hands. Okay.
All in favor? That's 3. All opposed? And I would join that. So
We do have options for it. So the motion does not pass.
Yes.
I'll let Rita explain that.
the motion did not pass, that means that the application was not approved as presented. It has the effect of a denial, and you're eligible for appeal.
Or revote.
Or revote, if a member of the body is inclined to change their vote, one way or the other.
Do we have the option to make some other motion of a continuance or a condition or anything like that?
The applicant has stated that he does not want to come back again, correct?
Well, you're a nice group, but I just don't see, I don't see that we're getting, I just don't see how we can mash all these comments and everything that needs to happen with this building. When we've been over backwards meeting with city planning and everybody else to do all the right things, and now we just can't get over this part.
Well, and to a certain degree, I agree. However, if you were going to try to do some kind of transparent or garden type of brick walls on the balconies or in the balcony areas to create, I could see how that would work, but that's a design issue that we would definitely have to see. That's not something that I feel like we could pass today.
Yeah, Rita, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, it did not pass as presented. So your option is to appeal, which is another round of meetings, or to come back to the July meeting.
We could rescind the vote, continue it, and come back to the July meeting. But
I just wanted to mention that because it seems like there's one more meeting in your future, either way.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
This is not the path we want to take, and I hope you understand that. We've worked so hard to get, up to this point, and it's disappointing when we had a good staff report this time with no qualifications of any kind that we would be at this position again. But I thank the committee for your time.
so, okay. I think that's it. Okay, the next item is the 712 South Broadway. Is the applicant present?
Yes, this is Todd Woodward from the MAPS office, and he's going to discuss both 6C and 6D together. They are two proposed demolitions on the MAPS Convention Center site. One of these, they're both massive old brick buildings. The one at 712 South Broadway, I believe by the pictures, and if you have had a chance to drive by, is clearly in really poor structural shape. The building at 530 South Broadway is very large, very handsome, and appears to be in solid condition. But to give you more context, Todd is going to give you a preview of the concept design for the convention center. If you haven't already seen it, this is the same presentation that was made to the Citizens Committee and the City Council a few weeks ago.
It's condensed.
Yeah, condensed version.
Condensed version. Thank you, Madam Chair, Lisa. Thank you, committee. Todd Woodward with the City of Oklahoma City, representing the MAPS office. Just an update to the convention center. I don't think we've been before the committee yet. I know you guys have seen a lot of demolition type presentations for the adjacent downtown MAPS Park, but I believe this is the first for the convention center. So last fall, the City Council approved an East Park site, which was located south of the boulevard, south of the Chesapeake Arena, and on the east side of the new MAPS Park. The site is bound by Southwest 4th on the north to 7th on the south, Robinson to Shields. That's Broadway that goes north and south right through the middle of the site. There are 29 parcels located in this site, and all but about 5 there's an agreement on for purchase between the city, Okura, and the property owners. As you can see here, the convention center itself will reside between 4th and 6th Street, Robinson, and a relocated Broadway. We'll have to relocate Broadway to the east approximately 200 feet. We've also tasked our consultant to identify an expansion area, and that's what takes us down to 7th Street. So as we do acquire properties, we will acquire down to 7th Street. As you can see here, we have the Chesapeake Arena to the north, Cox downtown. To the west, it's the new park. It's proposed, not being built yet. As Lisa stated, we are currently in the conceptual, well, we've recently completed the conceptual report. Some of these slides are from the conceptual study. I know Mr. Harding has seen some of these. I don't know anybody else, but if you haven't seen them, then I'll just make a quick run through them. There are 3 primary sellable spaces in the convention center: Expo Hall in yellow, meeting rooms in green, and the ballroom in pink. As you can see, it's a multi-level. There's actually 4 different levels. As we go through these, I'll show you a couple sections through the building. There is a potential hotel spotted to the north of the convention center. I do not have an update on the status of that right now, but as time moves along, we will find out more. Here's another section through where we can see the expo hall to the right, pre-function on the first level, meetings in the mezzanine level, and ballroom at the top. As we go into the first floor, you're looking from the park, kind of the park view, looking to the east, across Robinson, 3 main entries as the pink arrows. There's a north entry which will come from downtown, the streetcar, the potential hotel, a mid-level entry, which is a crosswalk from the park, and then the south entry on your far right would be from south parking, the Skydance Bridge, that area. As you look further to looking up to the page, as you go into the building, you see 4 green boxes. Those are smaller meeting rooms that can also be used for sales, retail, for food services. The white boxes beyond that are staff and administrative spaces, and then the large kind of tan area would be the expo hall, followed by an enclosed covered loading area at the far back on the east side. As we come up, this is the mezzanine level, the height of the expo hall, the structure, the bar joists allow a kind of a mid floor area that we're able to utilize by placing multiple meeting rooms. These meeting rooms will be, they'll have access to the pre-function area at the mezzanine level and look out over the park. As we go up to the 3rd level, there are 2 large, approximately 10,000 square foot meeting rooms. These rooms can also serve as junior ballrooms. They are partitionable. They can be turned into multiple smaller meeting rooms with pre-function area. It's just we're trying to be as flexible as possible. The intent of the convention center is to be partitioned into multiple conventions. That you can house concurrent conventions at the same time, or a conventioneer will lease the whole space. Top level is the ballroom. It will have spectacular views. We're approaching the 80 to 100 feet above the street level. To the north, there'll be spectacular views of downtown, the Myriad Gardens. Across the street would be the new downtown park, and south would be the Skydance Bridge. Approximately 30,000 square feet of ballroom, 10,000 pre-function to the west, with a grand outdoor terrace, which will cantilever over the entryway and allow north-west-south views. Another rendering of views from both the ballroom and the two larger meeting spaces to also serve as junior ballrooms. As mentioned before, we've tasked our consultant to identify an expansion area. This would allow the expo hall to be expanded from 200,000 square foot per program to add another 100,000 square feet at a future date. Now, for the reason I'm here is, and I'll be here multiple times in the future we're trying to get the site cleaned up. As Lisa mentioned, there's a lot of buildings in this area that are in very, very poor condition. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive through, but see some of the photos that I've attached. They're bad. First building is 530 South Broadway. It's the old haunted warehouse. It's a 4-story brick building with a basement. Had the Voodoo Lounge in the basement. The building has been subjected to severe vandalism. All the windows have been broken out. As you can see in the right, there's debris on the awning above the loading dock. Multiple floors have been wiped out. The structure, the wood structure on it is very poor, and if we don't get it down, it's going to really become a nuisance in the future. A couple other photos of the building. The second structure is at the far south of the site, which is in the expansion area, 712 South Broadway. This building has been vandalized to a point to where it is collapsing. Vandals have come in, taken the wood structure. These are 100-year-old wood frame members that have been taken, bricks have been taken. You can see we've actually had a fence installed around this building just to try to keep them out. We do have patrol in the area. That has greatly reduced the amount of vandalism. Here you can see where the first floor is supporting a collapsed second floor. You can see how it's overnight our fence has been knocked down. It's just a nuisance, and the building needs to be removed. That's all I have. I'll have our consultant in the next few months to bring a real update for the preliminary report. That's where we're at. It'll be wrapping up probably around the end of the year. Once we get into actual contract documents, we'll come to the board here to provide routine updates, and you'll see me again on future demo sites. We expect another at least 2 to 3 demo projects that I'll come before the board, and we'll try to get your approval. And I'll entertain any questions.
I have a couple questions. So are the properties that you haven't acquired on that in the future growth area, or do you have properties that are not acquired in this area?
It's mixed.
Okay.
It's mixed. We have OG&E properties on the far north side that the municipal councilor's office is in constant back and forth conversation with. We have not acquired those yet. To my knowledge, if something's happened in the last few days, I haven't heard that. There's one property in the expansion area on the far east side that is, I believe it's gone into condemnation. So it's a mix.
Okay. And I'd like to comment that 712 looks like it's going to fall down on its own, and it's a life safety issue right now.
It's very scary. We actually haven't been in the building since it's gone down. We'll have a demolition contractor just basically knock the building down before we can't tour the basement. We're not sure what's in the basement. It's just a life safety issue. We can't go in.
Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Yeah, I just, we're tearing an awful lot of buildings down, and over the last several meetings, and I still keep waiting to hear salvage materials. Obviously, somebody wants those bricks. So is there any salvageability in these buildings?
Absolutely. The part of the demolition specifications, we ask that the demolition contractors do salvage the materials. Now, that would benefit the bids that come in on the demolition. So if a contractor feels that they can take some big wood beams out of the building and sell them, that would make our price go down as far as the contracted amount to the demolition contractor. So we do recommend that the materials are salvaged. They are sold by the new owner, which will be the demolition contractor.
Any other questions?
Is there any reason to demolish 530 South Broadway prior to all of the properties within the first phase of the project be secured?
I believe there is an agreement in place for all properties for purchase, other than the south property that's in condemnation. So other than the expansion area, we don't have any property in condemnation. There is a mutual agreement in place that we can purchase all of the property.
Good question, Corey. You feel satisfied with that answer?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the gallery? Do we have a motion? And we have two different, so we'll start with case 6C, 712 South Broadway. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application on the basis the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in sections C and D of the staff report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So that was a Harding-Faulkner motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. And the second one is item 6D, 530 South Broadway. Do we have a motion? Go ahead.
Can I just say
You're taking Dick's place.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Made all the motions.
I'm going to start doing what apparently Dick did and just say so moved. If that's okay with the Madam Chairman.
Is that okay, Rita? It's not
Oh,
okay.
man. I have to talk to Tom McDaniel with the Maps Board to change our methods. I move to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report.
Second.
Okay, that was a Harding-Faulkner motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much for being here. We have continued the Southwest 7th item, which is in other business, 7A, and we have applauded Dick Tannenbaum in 7B already. We have administrative reports. Anything big, you don't have to.
Nothing individually big, it's just, there were 13 cases. I think you've had 2 or 3 page reports every month for the past 6 months.
Okay, so an applause for staff. Thank you very much.
And just so you know, that also includes Michael, who you used to see more here. He's having to be pulled in because there's just so much coming in.
Yeah, Laura, Michael, I, we're all
three of us
We're all
working
doing
on it.
cases.
So, on May 3rd, 2016, a member of the Downtown Design Review was reappointed. That would be Corey Bates. I'm so glad. Congratulations. Comments from the planning staff?
Well, what I wanted to say is that your next meeting is July the 21st. We have items on that agenda, and so we're going to if Paula hasn't, she'll probably be sending you all an email so that we can make sure we're going to have a quorum, since a lot of people travel in July.
Okay.
So just planting that seed that we do have a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody know right now?
We have several items, they were just coming in by droves.
Okay, hold on, so Chuck is going to be gone.
July 21?
21st.
I'm definitely here. I'm taking all my vacations.
If we were going to have a quorum crisis, we wanted to take care of it
Yes.
today and not. So Nat and Chuck are gone. So we're good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have fun at our next meeting, because there's some big projects coming in.
Okay, good to know.
Sorry, I have some handouts on the MAPS Convention Center. If anybody wants them, I forgot to distribute them at the item, but if anybody wants one.
That's okay. Any other comments from the staff? Any comments from the committee members? I had one question. I was kind of perusing Facebook this morning, and there's a project on Hudson and 6th Street, I believe, that is advertising for leasing, and I don't remember seeing that.
They are going to, it has not come in, so it has not been approved. It's Jeremy's. They're going to submit for the August meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I just find it interesting that the design is published and on social media.
Yeah, I first read about it in the paper also. Also, the mural on Film Row has not been approved. It does not have any approvals, and I'm told they're working to submit their application as
Pretty
well.
cool.
That's not the point.
I know. Yes, please. He could do an informational next month. Okay, any other comments? Thank you all for being here, and see you next month on the 21st, except for Nathaniel and Chuck.
Where are we going?